Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So in this video we will learn how to make a use fetch custom hook. So basically what will be the responsibility of that custom hook. If you see in the previous videos we learned how to make this how to use container representationals design patterns. So I will put the link of that video in a description so you can watch that video, and this is the code of output of that video. So now if you see here we have a three states. So in first state we are storing the missions. So basically just think like it's a data. In second store we are tracing the pending status, and in third state we are tracing the error state. So if you see here inside the use effects we are calling this axios request. So once it's completed, after that we are displaying this data. Like if it is a pending, then we are displaying this. If it is a errors, then we are displaying this, something like that. So just think like that. So this kinds of a scenario we will going to face in throughout our applications. So for that we can do one thing. So we can move this in a some component, some common level of a functionality, so that we can utilize these things. Because tracking of the HTTP status, we need these kinds of functionality for every components, especially in a container where we will going to make any HTTP requests. So let's start with this. Inside the src, let's create a common folder. Inside the common, let's create a hook folder. So inside the hooks, let's create a use fetch.jsx. So ideally when we make a custom hook, so we should start the name with the use. Yeah. So let's import. Yeah. So here use fetch. So just think like that. So here we will going to receive from the outside the URL. So the responsibility of this use fetch, we will going to only handle the axios get request for time beings. We can enhance the functionality, but for the time beings we will going to keep this as simple as it is. Yeah. So inside the use fetch, so let's export this, export defaults. Yeah. So inside the use fetch, first we need three components like we have here. So let's copy these three, sorry, states, paste it here. So instead of a missions, name it as some generic set data. It should be small set error, and let's import use state. Yeah. So initially this will going to be null, and pending will going to be by default is true, and error will going to be the false. Yeah. So here let's write a use effect. Inside the use effects we will going to make a request. So let's assign the URL here. Whenever this URL will change, this use effect will going to invoke this function. So inside this functions we will going to call our axios request. So from here let's copy this axios request. Let's import axios request also. Yeah. So let's use set states here. Set state response dot data. So he will going we here we will going to set the pending states. Why it is okay. So here we will going to set the errors. In case of error, we can do one thing. Instead of setting pending request here, remove this. So catch, we have finally functions. So inside the finally we can set our pending state to false. Yeah. So here we are making this request. So now this URL will going to be some generic. So it will be like URL Okay, let me copy this URL. So here if we see this thing, so here we are making a Axios request. This is the URL we will going to receive from as when we use the use fetch at that time. So this is how we will going to set the data, set errors and set pendings status. So once we done with the use effect, so after that we can return. From here we can return a one object. So inside that objects we will going to have a data, we will going to have a pending and error. So instead of a pending, it will be good if we name this like a loading. It should be set loading. Yeah, so we are done with this thing. So if you want to like functionality where if you just change the components, the you want to cancel all the pending requests, you can achieve that things also with the Axios request. So in Axios we have something like here source Axios dot cancel token. Yeah, so we have a cancel token source. So when we are making a Axios request, so at that times we can assign this here like cancels token equals to source, like this. And here we just need to call the cancels functions on this source. So inside the use effects we know that we have returns functions. So whatever, so this return functions we can utilized as a cleanup function. So whenever our components are removed from JS DOM, so this functions will going to be invoked for the cleaning purpose. So here in this functions we can do our cleanup. So here we can call like source dot. Okay, so on this source, okay, I think it's a functions we need to call this function. So it will return a cancels token. So now here on the source we will going to have a cancel function. Yeah. So this is the thing. This is how you can cancel all the pending requests when this components is unmount. So now let's see how we will going to use this use fetch. So here now we don't need all these things. We can remove these things from here. Okay, let me do step by step. So here you can do one thing. So let's import a use fetch. So here you can pass the URL, and it's a good practice. Whatever constants we have, we can move at outside of the function. Yeah. So this use fetch will going to return data. We can use this data as missions, and after the missions this use fetch will going to provide loading and error. So now we can remove this thing from here, and also we can remove this use effects. So let's rename this pending to the loadings, and this missions now will going to will going to receive a by defaults value like null. So before calling functions like missions dot length, we should ensure that it should not be a nullable. So we can do like this: if not equals to nulls, then render this. And let's remove all these things now we don't need. Yeah. So now if you see, it's looking more elegant. So if you see, this is the use fetch functions we have here. We just need to pass the URLs, and this use fetch will going to returns a data loading and error, and based on that we can decide what type of a view we wants to show. So now let's see on screen it is working as expected or not. So error occurred. So let's do one thing. Open use fetch. So inside the catch, let's receive this errors and console log. Yeah. So if you open here, so it's saying a cancel token throw if request is not a function. Okay, I think it should be a source dot token. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, my bad. So let's refresh this. Okay, so this is the mistake. So here it's saying error occurred, and it's still set actually. So once we receive the data, after that we can do one thing. Let's copy this. Yeah. So here if you see it is working as expected. So this is what we want exactly. So now if you see the benefit of this making a use fetch custom hook, so we don't need to initialize all these states in every times where we are making a request on server service side. So this is how we can use. So in next video we will going to see how we can use the how we can do something for these conditions, like here if you see in loading, this is what we are showing in error and mission. So these type of three conditions we will going to need in every component. So in next lectures we will see how to use how to make a custom hook use status for using these things. So I hope you like this video. Please subscribe my channels and like this video. Thank you.